If we think about what changes between the Middle Ages and the early modern period, and roughly we can say this is a change that corresponds to the emergence of modern science, and what is it that changes in our understanding of how nature operates. And from the middle of the Middle Ages, let's say from the 10th century onwards, the ideas of the Greek philosopher Aristotle really dominate the intellectual agenda. And we have new universities that are sponsored by the church and the teaching of Aristotle, not without some resistance initially, but certainly by the 13th century, Aristotle is enthroned as really the key source for our understanding of the natural world. And for Aristotle, nature operates because the things in the natural world have inherent powers or qualities. In the Christian version of Aristotle, these qualities or virtues are infused by God. They're placed in natural things by God. So when nature operates, it operates because these things have their own independent power that God cooperates with or concurs with to make things happen. And that's the pattern we get. So we don't have laws of nature that are externally applied, rather the order of nature arises out of the fact that these internal capacities and powers of natural things are coordinated in such a way as to bring about the things that we see happening around us. Now, putting it rather crudely, what happens in the early modern period, in the 17th century, is that those powers are evacuated out of the things in nature. And what happens is that natural objects become really quite, in essence, the theory changes to a kind of atomic theory where the basic constituents of nature are geometric objects that have no properties and no causal powers, no capacity to do anything on their own. And the idea then of a law of nature is that God pretty well does all of the work in moving around these basic geometric elements of the natural world that together, as we say, give us what we see. So in certain respects it's a counterintuitive view, this atomistic view that everything is comprised of corpuscles or atoms. They have for the most part no inherent powers of their own, but God directs them, and when God directs them, they move according to this lawful fashion, which is really nothing other than God himself moving them around according to laws that he himself has determined. So when, for example, Newton has a conception of gravity, and gravity which operates according to the mathematical inverse square law, that's a law in God's head, and what God is doing is he's moving everything in the universe in accordance with that particular mathematical relation.